Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Luke 23 verse 34. I remember that moment. The sky had grown dark, though it was midday. The wind whispered across the hill where I hung. The crowd was loud, shouting, mocking, laughing. Hammers had fallen. The cross stood upright. My hands and my feet had been pierced. The pain was real, yet it was not what weighed heaviest on me. As I looked down at the faces before me, soldiers gambling for my clothing, priests sneering, and others staring in silence, my heart broke not because of what they were doing, but because they truly did not understand it. And so I spoke the words that have echoed through history ever since. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. It may seem impossible, even foolish, to forgive in a moment like that. But I want you to understand something very important. My forgiveness did not come out of weakness or pain. It came from purpose, from love. I did not forgive because they deserved it. I forgave because they didn't understand. Because love must go where it is most needed. I came into the world not to condemn it, but to save it. I knew from the very beginning where my road would lead. I healed, I taught, I embraced the outcast, and I showed the way back to the Father. But from the moment I entered the world in a manger, I knew the cross was waiting. I knew that to save humanity, I would have to give everything. And so, when the time came, when they shouted, "Crucify him," when they tore my flesh and drove nails through bone, I did not call down angels to stop them. I did not curse them. I looked into their eyes and I saw their blindness, their confusion, their pain. And in that moment, I loved them more deeply than ever before. Those words, "Father, forgive them," were not just meant for the Roman soldiers who raised the hammer. They were not only for the Pharisees who plotted in secret or the crowds who turned on me. They were for every soul who has ever wandered in the dark. For every person who has ever hurt another out of fear or anger. For every heart that has ever been lost. They were for you. Yes, for you who may be sitting alone, wondering if the past can be changed. For you who carry regrets buried so deep you rarely speak of them. For you who have lived long, seen much, and perhaps question whether mercy is still within reach. You may have said things you wish you could take back. You may have turned your back on people who needed you. You may have fallen silent when you should have spoken, or spoken harshly when you should have listened. You may have walked away from faith, or felt as though God walked away from you. And now, looking back, you ask yourself, did I really know what I was doing? I know, I see, and I understand. So I say again, not just to those at the foot of my cross, but to every generation that has come since. Father, forgive them. Forgiveness is not earned by years of good behavior. It is not bought through guilt or penance. Forgiveness flows from the heart of the Father because of what I did on that cross. I took the weight of sin, the anger, the bitterness, the shame, the pride, the fear, and I bore it all. Not so that you would carry it, but so that you could lay it down. There is no sin so old that it cannot be forgiven. There is no mistake so long past that it is out of reach of grace. If you feel unworthy, take comfort, so did those who stood before me that day. If you feel broken, know this, I came not for the healthy, but for the sick. Not for the righteous, but for the lost. You may think you are too old to begin again. You may believe your story has already been written, that your mistakes are carved in stone. But I tell you the truth. My Father is the author of new beginnings. The cross was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of something far greater. And the same is true for you. When I said, they don't know what they're doing, I meant it. People lash out when they are afraid. They close their hearts when they have been hurt. They sin because they are searching for something that the world cannot give. So much of the pain in the world is not born from evil intent, but from blindness, from fear, from the ache of being far from love. That is why I spoke, not words of anger, but of mercy. And mercy still speaks. It speaks to the mother who weeps for a child lost to addiction, to the father who carries guilt over years of silence, To the widow who wonders if she mattered enough. To the man who served his country, came home, and couldn't find peace. To the woman who raised a family and now sits alone with her memories. To each one of you, I say this: you are not forgotten. You are not beyond my love. You are not too late for forgiveness. You are not too far for grace. I know what you've done and what's been done to you. I know the words spoken in anger, the decisions made in fear, the moments you wish you could erase. And still, I love you. I forgive you. I died for you. When you hear me say, Father, forgive them, know that you are included in that prayer. Know that your story matters to me. Know that your soul is precious to the one who created it. You do not have to carry your burdens alone. You do not have to pretend anymore. You do not have to wait until you have it all together. Come just as you are, wounded, weary, and wondering, and I will meet you with arms wide open, because that is what the cross is, wide open arms. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it frees you from its chains. It does not change what happened, but it changes who you are because of it. It is not a forgetting, but a healing. And so today, my prayer for you is this: may you hear those words, not as something from long ago, but as something spoken for you right now. Father, forgive them because they didn't know, because they tried and failed, because they were afraid, because they were hurt, because they are human. And may you know this above all: forgiveness is not a gift for the perfect. It is a gift for the broken, and it is yours. I spoke it then, and I speak it still, for you. When you've lived many years, you begin to understand pain in a way that younger hearts simply cannot. It becomes something more than a passing moment. It weaves itself into memories. It changes the way you see the world. Sometimes it even changes the way you see yourself. Maybe you've known physical pain, the kind that comes with aging joints, illness, or time-worn bones. But I know there is another kind of pain, the kind that doesn't show on the surface, the kind that hides beneath smiles, polite greetings, and old photo albums. It's the pain of regret, the pain of what might have been, the pain of things left unsaid, the pain of being misunderstood, the pain of forgiving others who never said they were sorry. You've lived long enough to know how hard it is to carry that kind of pain. And so I come to you, not with judgment, not with condemnation, but with understanding. Do you remember what I said from the cross? Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. It wasn't just a prayer for those who harmed me. It was a revelation of the Father's heart, a heart that sees beyond the offense, straight into the soul of the one who is lost. A heart that does not excuse the pain, but refuses to let the pain define the future. Some of the people who hurt you truly didn't know the weight of what they were doing. Maybe it was a parent who failed to protect you when you were small, a friend who walked away when you needed them most, a spouse who broke promises, a child who made choices that shattered your heart. They may never apologize. They may no longer be here, but the wound remains. What do you do with that kind of pain? Let me share with you what I did. I forgave. Not because it was easy, not because the pain wasn't real, not because I was weak, but because forgiveness is the only path that leads beyond suffering. You see, when I looked into the eyes of those mocking me, when I saw the soldiers raise their hammers, the priests raise their voices, the crowd raise their fists, I chose to see their blindness, not just their cruelty. They didn't understand who I was. They didn't know that they were crucifying the Son of God. But more than that, they didn't understand what was broken in themselves. Their fear, their pride, their insecurity, their need to be right, their need for control. And isn't that still true today? People hurt others because they don't know how to deal with their own wounds. They lash out because they're afraid. They abandon because they don't know how to stay. They betray because they don't know how to love. It doesn't make what they did right, but it helps you see that the pain didn't start with you. It started long before. There is a kind of freedom that comes when you realize, it wasn't about me. So many of you have carried pain that wasn't yours to carry. You've blamed yourself for other people's sin. You've held on to anger not because you wanted to, but because you didn't know what to do with the betrayal. I know that feeling. When Judas kissed me in the garden, pretending loyalty even as he handed me over, I knew he was lost. When Peter denied me 3 times, fearing for his life, pretending not to know me, I saw his heart breaking even as the words left his lips. When the crowds cried out for Barabbas instead of me, I saw their desperation, their confusion. Still, I forgave. Not after they apologized, not after they proved themselves, but in the very moment of their sin. That is the mystery of grace. You may be thinking, but I'm not Jesus. I can't forgive like that. And I understand. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's not pretending the pain didn't happen. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a decision. A decision to stop drinking the poison of bitterness. A decision to put down the heavy stone you've carried for years. You may be angry. That's okay. You may feel like forgiveness means letting someone off the hook. But forgiveness doesn't mean the person didn't do wrong. It means you are choosing to be free from the burden of carrying their wrong inside your heart. It means you are choosing to trust me, to be your defender, your justice, your healing. There's something I want you to know. You were never meant to carry that pain forever. The cross was never just about saving you from hell. It was also about setting you free in the here and now, from shame, from regret, from chains of anger that have held you far too long. And there is another layer to this forgiveness. You see, when I said, Father, forgive them, I wasn't only talking about those who hurt me. I was also opening the door for you to forgive yourself. Because sometimes the hardest person to forgive is you. Maybe you didn't love your parents the way you wish you had. Maybe you weren't present enough for your children. Maybe you abandoned a marriage or stayed too long in a situation where you knew it wasn't right. Maybe you said things out of anger that you've never been able to take back. Maybe you turned your back on God for a season and you wonder if He's still listening. I want you to hear me clearly. You are not too far gone. You are not too old to be made new. There is no expiration date on grace. The Father does not measure your worth by your mistakes. He measures it by my sacrifice. And I gave everything for you. So let go. Let go of the shame. Let go of the what ifs and the if onlys. Let go of the version of yourself that you keep punishing. Let the cross do what it was always meant to do. Not just cover your sin, but wash you clean. Not just carry your burdens, but release you from them. You are not called to relive your worst moments. You are called to rise from them. Forgiveness doesn't mean the pain never mattered. It means the pain no longer controls your story, and your story isn't over. Some people think that when they reach a certain age, life slows down. They think the most important chapters have already been written. But I'm here to tell you, if you still have breath, you still have purpose. There is someone who needs your wisdom, someone who needs your tenderness, someone who needs your story of redemption. You may think your greatest days are behind you, but I see your future, and it still burns bright. Forgiveness is not just about healing the past. It's about opening the door to tomorrow. So what do you do now? You start small. You whisper the name of the one who hurt you and ask me for the strength to let it go. You speak kindly to yourself when the voices in your head bring back old regrets. You come back to the cross not just once, but every day. You remember my words, Father, forgive them. And you let those words become your prayer, your compass, your freedom. I know it's not easy, but I am with you. You do not have to walk this road alone. I will walk it with you every step. You are not defined by the worst thing you've done. You are not defined by what they did to you. You are defined by the love that never let go. You are defined by the Savior who hung on a cross and still chose mercy. And that Savior is speaking now. To you, forgive, heal, live again. Because your heart was made for more than pain. It was made for peace. There's something about love that we don't truly understand until we've lived a few decades, until we've watched people come and go, until we've given our hearts to others and felt the joy and the ache of it. When you've lived through heartbreak, reconciliation, silence, and laughter, you begin to see that love is not just a feeling. It's a choice, posture, power. When I hung on the cross, stripped of dignity, pierced by pain, surrounded by cruelty, I did not feel warm affection. I did not feel appreciated. I was not understood. I was not comforted. And yet I loved. I loved in the face of rejection. I loved while being tortured. I loved while being forgotten by those I had healed, taught, and even raised from the dead. And in the depth of that moment, I showed you what love truly is. You see, the love of the Father is not like the love of the world. It does not wait for you to earn it. It does not change with your behavior. It does not disappear when you fail. It endures. It sacrifices. It gives. And so, when I said, "Father, forgive them," I wasn't just forgiving. I was loving. Forgiveness is love in action. It's love that refuses to die, even when nailed to a cross. You who are listening, who have lived many years, who carry the wisdom of experience and the scars of survival, you know something about love that the young do not yet understand. You know that love isn't always easy. It's staying when things get hard. It's listening even when you don't agree. It's caring for someone who can no longer give you anything in return. It's grieving because you loved deeply and something was lost. Love is not a moment. It's a lifetime. And it's in the lifetime of loving that we learn what my Father's love is truly like. Many people today are confused about what love is. They think it's passion or romance or being made to feel special. But the cross is the greatest act of love the world has ever known. And there was no beauty in it by the world's standards. There was blood. There was suffering. There was rejection. But there was love poured out without reservation. Because love is not about how you feel, love is about what you give. Let me speak to you now as one who knows you. You have given so much in your life. You've given your time, your strength, your tears. You've loved people who didn't love you back the way you hoped. You've carried others through seasons of illness, addiction, heartbreak. You've shown love in meals cooked, letters written, hospital visits made, and sacrifices unnoticed. And maybe some days you wonder if it mattered. Let me tell you, it did. Every quiet act of love reflected the heart of the Father. Every moment you chose kindness instead of bitterness. Every moment you forgave when it hurt. Every moment you stayed faithful even when life seemed unfair. You lived the gospel in ways more powerful than many sermons. You may never have stood behind a pulpit, but your life has preached volumes. Still, I know there are places in your heart where you feel unloved. Times in your life where you long to be seen, but were overlooked. Moments when you were the one reaching out, but no one reached back. And sometimes, the older you get, the more you wonder, was it enough? Did I love well enough? Did I waste time? Did I give my heart to the right people? Do I still matter now? My beloved, hear me, you mattered then. You matter now. And nothing done in love is ever wasted. When I healed the leper, I didn't just touch a diseased body. I touched a rejected soul. When I fed the 5,000, I didn't just give them bread, I gave them dignity. When I wept at Lazarus's tomb, I didn't cry because I lacked power. I cried because love grieves. I loved in the small things. And so do you. Some of your greatest acts of love weren't flashy. They were hidden, quiet, ordinary. But that's the kind of love that holds the world together. That's the kind of love that reflects the Father's heart. And that's the kind of love I saw in the women who stood at the foot of my cross. They couldn't change what was happening. They couldn't stop the pain, but they stayed. Love stays. Perhaps you've lost someone who stayed with you. A spouse, a sibling, a best friend. Perhaps you miss them every single day, and some nights their absence still takes your breath away. I understand. I too said goodbye to those I loved. I too wept for what was lost. But hear me, love does not die with the body. Love planted in eternity blooms again in resurrection. The love you gave will meet you again. The people you miss are not lost. They are with me. There will be a day when every tear is wiped away, when every loss is restored, when love is no longer tested by time or sorrow, but fulfilled in eternal joy. That is the promise of the resurrection. That is the victory of love. But while you are still here, still breathing, still walking this earth, there is more to give, more to receive, more to become. Some people think their later years are a winding down, a closing chapter. Not so. I see these years as sacred, golden, precious. The love you can offer now is not the loud, restless love of youth, but the deep, enduring love of someone who has seen the storms and survived them. You know what matters now. You've learned what lasts, and when you speak love into another life, it carries a wisdom that is holy. So do not believe the lie that you have nothing left to give. You can still make a phone call that changes a heart. You can still pray for someone who is lost. You can still speak a word that heals an old wound. You can still hug a grandchild and give them a glimpse of heaven's tenderness. You can still love, like I loved, deeply, sacrificially, faithfully. Even from the cross, I was still loving, still giving, still forgiving. That is the power of love. You might be wondering now, how do I love someone who has hurt me? How do I love someone who has changed so much I hardly recognize them? How do I love when I feel so empty myself? Let me give you a secret. You do not need to conjure that love from your own strength. Come to me. Let me fill you. The love I offer is not fragile. It does not depend on your mood, your energy, or your circumstances. My love flows from the Father's heart, through the Spirit, into yours. If you remain in me, you will bear fruit. Love will grow where bitterness once lived. Grace will flow where guilt once lingered. Joy will rise where grief once drowned you. I am the vine. You are the branch. Stay close to me, and love will never run dry. Perhaps there is someone you need to forgive in love. Someone you've avoided. Someone you've tried to forget. It might be time to release them, not because they asked, but because you're ready to be free. Or maybe there is someone you need to love from a distance. Someone you need to bless, even if you cannot be close. Love does not always mean returning to painful relationships, but it does mean returning the pain to me so it no longer rules your heart. You do not need to pretend. You only need to surrender. Let me carry the burden with you. There may be someone in your life who still needs your love. Someone who's difficult. Someone who's lost. Someone who pushes you away. And you're tired. You're not sure you have it in you anymore. I understand. But I also know what love can do. Love turned Peter's denial into a lifetime of faithfulness. Love turned a thief's final breath into eternal salvation. Love turned a Roman centurion's hardened heart into humble awe. Love changes people, sometimes slowly, sometimes only after we're gone, but it never leaves them the same. So don't give up. Keep loving, even when it costs, even when it hurts, even when it seems pointless, because love never fails. That's not just poetry, it's truth. My love did not fail on the cross. It did not fail in the grave. It rose again and is alive forevermore. And that love, my love, is in you, not just for you to receive, but to give, to share, to live. Love is the legacy I left. It's the legacy you leave too. Long after the things of this world have faded, the love you showed will still echo in eternity. So today, choose love again. Even if your body aches, even if your memory falters, there is a moment in every life where silence speaks louder than words. When the dust settles after the battle, when the doctor's voice trails off, when the funeral ends, when the house feels too quiet, you look around and wonder, is this how it ends? Is this all there is? That's what it felt like for those who had followed me. They had seen me teach the crowds with authority, heal the sick with a word, walk on water, raise the dead. They had believed I was the one, the Messiah, the Son of God, the hope of Israel. But then the cross came, the betrayal, the beating, the silence, the tomb. They watched me die, and for 3 long days the world held its breath. If you've ever stood at a graveside, you know that feeling. You know what it's like to say goodbye, even when your heart isn't ready. You know what it's like to ask why them, why now, why didn't it end differently? For some of you, the tomb isn't just a metaphor. It's a real place with a name on it. A spouse, a child, a friend, and the ache of that absence lingers. You've lived long enough to see how fragile life really is. You've buried dreams. You've buried hopes, maybe even parts of yourself. But I want you to hear me now with your whole heart. The tomb is not the end. When Mary came to the grave that morning, she was not expecting a miracle. She was expecting a body. She came to mourn, to honor, to do what love does when hope seems lost. But when she arrived, the stone was rolled away. Not because someone had stolen me, not because Rome had changed its mind, but because death had been defeated, because I had risen, not just in spirit, not just in memory, but in flesh and blood. Alive, whole, glorified. I stood again not as a victim, but as a victor. And I want you to understand something deeply. I didn't rise just to prove a point. I rose because you needed hope. Hope that grief doesn't have the final word. Hope that your mistakes aren't your legacy. Hope that even when your body weakens and the years pass quickly, something greater is waiting. You see, the resurrection isn't just about me coming back to life. It's about you being brought back to life. In your spirit, in your future, in your story. Because here's the truth many forget. If the cross was about forgiveness, then the empty tomb is about freedom. Let's talk plainly. You've seen a lot in your lifetime. Wars, change, loss, triumph. You've survived things younger generations have only read about. And maybe along the way you've become a little weary, a little cynical, a little unsure if tomorrow holds anything new. That's why the empty tomb matters so much, especially now, because it means that no matter how dark things become, light is coming. It means that nothing is truly lost when it's placed in God's hands. It means that there is life after death, meaning after suffering, beauty after ashes. The disciples didn't understand that at first. They were hiding, afraid, ashamed. Peter had denied me. Thomas had doubted. The rest had scattered when I needed them most. But when they saw me, really saw me alive again, everything changed. Fear turned into courage. Guilt turned into grace. Shame turned into boldness. And a group of ordinary people became messengers of eternal hope. You may be thinking that's great for them. But what about me? I'm too old. My chance has passed. I've made too many mistakes. I'm not like Peter or John or Mary. Let me tell you something. You are exactly who I came for. Do you think age makes you less useful to me? Not at all. Age makes you ripe with wisdom, rich with experience, grounded in humility. You've loved, you've lost, you've wrestled with doubt and come back to faith. That makes your testimony stronger, not weaker. Because when you speak of hope, you're not speaking from theory, you're speaking from life. You know what it's like to wait on God longer than you hoped. You know what it's like to lose someone before you were ready. You know what it's like to pray and not see the answer, yet still believe. That kind of hope changes lives. That kind of hope is resurrection hope. Some of you are afraid of what lies ahead. The body grows weaker. The memories aren't as sharp. You wonder how many more birthdays, holidays, or mornings you'll wake up to. Let me reassure you, the best is yet to come. What lies ahead is not emptiness, but fullness. Not silence, but song. Not an ending, but a beginning. The resurrection is your promise that death is not your finish line. It's just the doorway home. That's why I said, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me will live, even though they die. Not just exist, live in joy, live in perfect peace, live in my presence, with those you've loved and lost, restored forever. Can you imagine it? No more pain in your joints, no more surgeries, no more heartache, no more wondering if you matter, no more goodbyes, only life, eternal life, whole and holy and never ending. And that life doesn't begin when you die. It begins the moment you believe. Because resurrection isn't only about what happens after the grave. It's about what happens today, when hope returns to the places that felt dead. That broken relationship you thought would never heal, that dream you gave up on years ago, that part of you that stopped believing God still had plans for you, I can raise it. I am still rolling stones away, still breathing life into dry bones, still calling your name like I did to Lazarus. Come out, live again. Don't settle for survival when I offer resurrection. Don't cling to shame when I offer restoration. Don't give up when I